Hi everybody. So this video is basically about active reading skills and how I want you to approach reading in this course and how I really think you should approach reading basically for your entire college career. So we're going to talk about active reading, and there's a big difference between active and passive reading. So I was a literature major and I had to do tons of reading in college, and my strategy just basically went like this. I would have my book and I would get in a nice comfy chair and I would have like my tea with me, and then I would start reading, and I would usually fall asleep after about 10 minutes, and I would take a little nap, and then I would sort of justify that by saying, oh well, I need to get that nap in and then I can really focus. And then I would diligently run my eyes over all the words in that book or article or whatever it is I had to read, but often I didn't really absorb anything from that. And so I want you to do a better job than I did as an undergrad and have some active reading skills that you can. I guess what I want to say is I want you to attack the reading. I want you to go in there with your eyes open with some strategies. So when you look over the reading strategies handout, it goes over the sort of major things that I think you should try out. So there's previewing. I don't know if you've looked over it yet, but maybe you can put me on pause and go take a look at it. So it's got previewing. You should, look at the title, look at the subtitles. It tells you how to go about previewing a reading. Then there's a section on annotation. You should always read with a pen in hand. And in a second, I'm going to go over how I think you should approach that if you're not planning on printing out the PDFs that I've provided for you, or if you don't want to write in any of the books that we're reading for this semester because you want to sell them back. There are other things you can do. And then there is a reflection section and a review section at the end of the active reading strategy. So read through the handout and think about how you can try out using those strategies. The reading also explains that the goal of active reading is really to give yourself time to absorb what you've read and allow it to kind of enter into your long-term memory. Because I don't know about you, but if I don't really read actively and annotate as I'm going and force myself to stop and reflect and say, hey, what just happened in that paragraph? Or a section just ended. What was that last section about? I forget everything. And I see that in students where I know that they've done the reading the night before, but when it comes to class time and we're having a class discussion, they're just like, oh, I don't even remember what happened. So these reading strategies are meant to combat that forgetfulness that we sort of have built in. And the other thing is, obviously these strategies will take a little bit longer than just, I ran my eyes over every word in that reading. So it will take more time, but it'll save you time later, because if you take really detailed annotations and you take separate notes and you really, make sure that you're trying out all of these reading strategies and reading actively, then you won't have to go back and reread the whole thing again. Because I have that experience. I've had that experience as well, where I read something for a course and then maybe later an essay is assigned on that reading, and I go back and I can't remember anything, and I essentially have to read the whole thing again. And that's a huge waste of time to have to read everything twice or 3 times, because it's just not kind of getting into your brain. Okay, so those are my comments on the active or the reading strategies handout. Then I've also had to read the argumentative modes handout. Okay, so the argumentative modes are a type of rhetorical analysis where you're looking for, okay, what type of writing is the author doing here? Is it a description? Are they telling a story? So that's like a narrative argument. Are they comparing, contrasting two things? Are they defining a particular term? And if you can identify what they're doing, that's another way to help you read actively and track what the author is doing. Okay, because I said as I explained before, we're trying to do rhetorical analysis, and the project there, the project of a rhetorical analysis is to say, not just be able to explain, here's what the author said. That's summary, okay? I kind of expect you guys to already be able to summarize. We're going one step further in analyzing the argument and being able to say, oh, he's doing one long narrative argument, and here's why I think that argumentative strategy or mode is very effective for the author. Or maybe you could say you don't think it's effective for the argument they're making. You can observe, oh, the central issue or a central thing the author is doing is defining a key term. Or, oh, the author uses a ton of description, and here's why I think they use a ton of description in this particular essay. So look over the argumentative modes handout, and I think you guys are basically familiar with these types of writing: description, narration, cause effect, rebuttal or counter argument, it's sometimes called. I think, at least some of those will be familiar. And so review that, and then I want you to use both the reading strategies handout, the previewing, the annotating, the outlining, the reflecting, and the argumentative modes. Keep those things in mind as you're doing the reading for the course, and try to identify what you see an author doing. So those two methods of reading will work together to help you to analyze what an author is doing and track their argument and help you really understand it in a more active way. Okay, so next we're going to look at the reading for Tuesday, Foer, and we're going to talk about how he's got it structured. We're going to preview it a little bit, and I'm going to talk about various ways you could annotate an electronic text if you're choosing not to print out all of these readings. All right, so let's look. Here's Foer's essay, okay? And basically, you have a few options in terms of doing annotations, okay? So you could print out this entire PDF and just write stuff on it in the margins if you want to. You can read through it and keep separate notes in a notebook. That would work. You can also download Adobe Reader for free from the internet if you don't already have it on your computer. And when you open these PDF files in Adobe Reader, you can add comments to the file, and then you can save the file to your computer. So your personal annotations and comments will be saved into the document. So I actually didn't have Adobe Reader on this computer, and I just downloaded it. This is the newest version they have. I don't know if when you open it up, it'll look exactly how it looks in my screen right now, but it should look fairly similar. And basically, they have this tools area. They have, if you need to sign the document, I'm more really interested in this commenting area. So as we go along, you can you can highlight here, and you can add a sticky note, which I think will probably be the most useful. So if I click on this and click wherever I want it to go, I can type whatever I want. What the heck does that mean? I can do whatever I want, and it'll keep them over here for me, and then I click black on the page and it goes away, and you can put them all over, which is pretty cool. And then you can, save this, and your comments will be saved with the document now. And so with forward, first of all, I wanted to note, okay, so this is the title of this chapter, All or Nothing or Something Else. And this is one chapter from his book, Eating Animals. His name's Jonathan Safran Foer. All right, so I gave you sort of the bibliographic information for this reading. Most of the rest of our readings are just articles. This is really the only book chapter that we're using. And then I wanted to show you this is what I did for my own annotation. So I have a few things in the margins just to show you what my annotations might look like for this reading and what I noticed, okay? Just to give you an idea of what I mean when I say, oh, you should annotate it. The other thing I wanted to note about forward is, okay, so for the discussion of forward that you have to do, I'm asking you, what argumentative modes do you see him using? So you should keep that in mind. Like, what is he talking about? What argumentative strategies is he using? I'll give you kind of a hint. In the beginning, he's basically telling this story. It's called George, right? So you should pay attention to the subtitles of the chapter. So this is the first section called George, where he's telling the story. It's a narrative argument. He's using the narrative argumentative mode. He's telling the story of getting a dog. I also saw places where I see him using examples, right? On page 22, he's giving examples of like why we love animals. So you can see in my notes, sometimes I'm identifying, oh, he's using an example here. Sometimes I'm just trying to note like what his major point seems to be. And then, in the second section, it's called A Case for Eating Dogs. So he actually argues that we should eat dogs, and he's not really serious. And we need to be thinking about, what is his point? What is the point of making the argument that we should eat dogs, right? Because he's talking about vegetarianism and he's thinking critically about eating meat. And then as we go through, he's got these subsections, friends and enemies. Okay, and the other thing I wanted to kind of guide you in terms of reading forward, I wanted to say that the end of every section is often a place where the end of each subsection is a place where he's kind of telling us what his point is. So I want you to pay careful attention to what he's saying at the end of every subsection. So right here would be a place you want to pay attention to. He's going to talk about fishing. He's going to talk about Franz Kafka. So yeah, just roll with it. Try to keep track of where he's going and what his point is. And that's the point of our discussion is, what argumentative modes do you see him using? And which ones do you think he's most dependent on? Oh, and I want to remind you that the point of all of this, the reason why I'm making you do all of this, think about Thor in this particular way, is because I'm trying to prepare you to write that rhetorical analysis, which is our first major paper. You're going to write that rhetorical analysis about Thor, so I want you to be thinking about, okay, how did he put this together? What strategies did he use to put together his argument? So you're basically generating ideas for that rhetorical analysis paper. Okay, I think I've talked enough. Okay, so good luck. You can do it. Remember to break down the reading into manageable sized chunks for yourself so you don't get exhausted from trying to do a lot of reading all at once. And as usual, let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. Bye.